Greetings, kindred spirits. First of all, I'd like to thank you all so much for your love and support. I'm really grateful for the many beautiful messages of condolences, and inspiration for me to keep going. Don't worry, I'm not going to give up my work. I also received a few messages about my last podcast and why the moon was in Aquarius and not Pisces. Well, that's because I work with the true lifetime sky from an astronomical perspective, which is different from the traditional systems of astrology. I do work with the sidereal calculations when it comes to the actual constellation sizes, but I also work with the true planet placements when it comes to the degrees and the house positions. And I also use the exact time of when the full moon reaches its peak, or the exact time when the new moon very first begins. I follow a system of astrology that was founded by Walter Berg. He is the original founder of 13 star sign astrology, but he's also an astronomer and scientist. And I chose to follow his system of astrology because it's actually based on fact and the true cosmic energies. And that's why I refer to my charts as the true lifetime sky. So for those of you that would like to know more about Walter Berg and his journey with the 13th zodiac, I have actually pasted a link below. Well, I haven't yet, but I will, to an interview we did with him in 2017. And just to let you know that that's in article form, it's not in video. But please do check that out if you're interested. And once again, I just want to say thank you so much. I know when I listened to my last podcast, I thought, wow, I just sound so exhausted. So it was a little bit of a hard time losing out Eric, you know what I mean? So, and everything's kind of up in the air because, I did have the password to the website and unfortunately he's changed that. So I'm a little bit up in the air. I'm trying to copy all of his work and when I get my own platform I can repaste it all in his memory because he did produce some really good work for 13 star sign astrology, so I really don't want that to go to waste. But anyway, just thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. So our new moon begins on the 28th of September at 19:26 in the GMT time zone, at 14:26 in the EDT time zone, and on the 29th of September at 4:26 in the AEDT time zone. And the new moon will take place in the sign of Virgo in the true lifetime sky. So as the new moon begins, we'll have 2 kites, 2 T-squares when it comes to the grand aspects. But apart from those, our new moon will be in opposition to Chiron in Pisces and in quincunx to Uranus, who is still retrograding in Aries. And the ruler of Aries, Mars, will also be in opposition to Chiron. So these oppositions do suggest that many of us are basically trying to run before we can walk. The energies have been so intense since the Lionsgate portal, even more so than we have already experienced since around 2016, when the shift that is occurring started to become more noticeable in our physical material world, and also our spiritual lives. And, that was all occurring on the build up to this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which has also been putting the pressure on us to clear out old karmic patterns that have inhibited many of us from truly aligning with our soul's purpose. Especially since Saturn has been coming into an exact conjunction with the South Node. And both Saturn and the South Node are about karmic patterns, especially those of the past, So globally, collectively, and individually, we are being urged to open our eyes to the bigger picture of our lives and our way of thinking, and what it is we attract into our lives. And, we've done a lot of clearing in that respect. And we are coming towards an end of that cycle now, so it is important that we put in the work that is necessary for us all to be able to move forward onto our path of enlightenment and sovereignty. Because there will be some big changes taking place over the next couple of years. I'd say mostly between 2020 and 2022. There's a lot of major aspects, and even the number sequences alone, like 2020 adds up to 22, which is a master number. And 2022 is going to be significant because Neptune moves into his own sign of Pisces, which in the true lifetime sky rules the first house in 2022, and that's in February 2022. So that's a 22 energy. And I feel that's going to be very significant, and I will talk about that at a later date. Also Neptune is in sextile to Pluto as well as Saturn. Neptune is in sextile to Saturn as well as Pluto. On this conjunction between Saturn and Pluto, Neptune will be in sextile to them both. So Neptune's going to have a big hand in this conjunction. So yeah, I think I spoke a little bit about it in my Pluto conjunct Saturn podcast I did a few months ago. That's on my playlist if you want to watch it. But I do mention Neptune in that. But anyway, so, the new moon of Mars in Virgo in opposition to Chiron, who is the wounded healer and is in Pisces in the true lifetime sky, shows that a further clearing is being done of our old emotional wounds that have basically kept us blocked from being true to ourselves or feeling comfortable in our own authenticity. The good thing is with these particular oppositions is that Virgo can help us pinpoint and focus into the depth and blurred lines that Pisces is renowned for. Pisces is very deep and emotionally vulnerable, being the most sensitive sign of the zodiac. She is very psychic and melancholy since she sees and feels everything deep within her soul. She is a star sign of absorbance and can become very muddled and confused in the mix of the different energies and psychic impressions that she picks up on. Virgo is her natural opposite. So Virgo scrutinizes everything to its finest detail and can become very obsessive and critical when it comes to detail. But his ability to focus with great discipline is absolutely phenomenal. So basically the energy of the Virgo new moon can help us pinpoint the block that holds us back in life. And from what I'm seeing here, for some, it is these blocks that are likely, stemming from their childhood. Funnily, I've had quite a few people recently say to me that certain issues have arisen from the past that they have needed to put the work in on. And have been quite surprised, because they felt they had cleared and healed that part of themselves. The problem and the gift of Chiron is that he is the wound that never heals. But is the wound that helps us to turn around that pain, into a great source of understanding and forgiveness. Chiron is also one of the great instigators of the zodiac that helps us to attain a higher consciousness, which can lead us into becoming our own healer teacher and helping others to do the same. The black moon Lilith will also be in opposition to our sun, moon and Mars, and she will be at 2 degrees in Pisces. And this shows to me that a lot of relationship issues will still be surfacing throughout the next 2 weeks. Especially those that are of an abusive nature, whether that be mentally, physically or emotionally. The black moon Lilith in Pisces does tend to trust the wrong people when she is vulnerable and unsure of herself. And in opposition to the Sun, Moon and Mars shows that there is a great depression taking place in unhealthy relationships, or a realization that certain partners are not who they portrayed themselves to be. Or was it just a case of blindsidedness? I feel these are the questions that will arise, throughout the full moon, or up until the full moon, throughout the new moon and up until the full moon that will take place on the 13th of October. But I do feel that this is the last of the clearing for many, that has been going on since earlier this year. And many may, come to the realization that they've actually been suffering depression for quite some years, but, just been so under it that they just haven't recognized that, or if they have, they just haven't been able to see a way out of it. But the planetary energies coming in are forcing us to see the bigger picture and to gain clarity. So the first grand aspect, which is a kite that I'm going to talk about, is co-joined with one. Actually, both the kites are co-joined with a T-square each. Since there's two kites, two T-squares, but each of them are kind of like, involving a T-square. Each kite is involving a separate T-square. And the first one involves our new moon. So these grand aspects show that many of us are finding it really hard to stay grounded and focused. I know I have. These energies can also rile up feelings of resentment and anger for some, whilst for others like an emotional overwhelm or just really feeling drained with their situation. I know we haven't been given much space in between the energy waves coming in. It has been a constant challenge for us to keep up with them and to adapt to the constant winds of change that come with that, with these grand aspects, especially the kites. This is not a time to push forward, if our gut instinct is telling us not to. So this is all about following our own instincts, not living in our head in a fantasy world or tapping into the higher realms as such, but by going within and listening to what our instincts is telling us. It is also important that if we are feeling blocked or are having a hard time feeling confident about expressing ourselves, our true self, then we do need to go within to pinpoint that block that stops us from fully being in our power. And I would also say at this point, beware of control issues and self-deception. The second grand kite aspect that is also co-joined with the second T-square involves our Black Moon Lilith. And these particular aspects are taking us down into the depths of our soul to gain a deeper insight into our situations and to see the bigger picture when it comes to human nature. These aspects mostly revolve around abusive relationships, either our relationships with others or the relationship we have with ourselves, So that could be anything from, being with a partner because we feel we need to save them or we feel obligated to be with them, or basically, our subconscious mind from wounds of the past is causing us to sabotage our own happiness. That's not with everyone, but I would just say that is the theme of these aspects. So this is all about, again, self-empowerment, but it's also bringing to light addictions and bad habits and where we can blind ourselves to the truth of our situations. Like I said, this is all about us being authentic and transparent and being comfortable with that. If we are waiting for somebody to save us or feel that we need to save someone else, then we have to know that we are on the wrong path. Because the energies that have been coming in overall have been urging us to wake up or level up when it comes to our consciousness and inner strength. If we are still suffering an abusive relationship or from abusive relationships, then it is time to analyse and face the truth of what our next step should be. Whether that means changes within us or changing our circle, So for those of us that are and have been working with and keeping up with the energies and following our instincts and guidance, own guidance that is, it is a time for further enlightenment and downloads of information that will be beneficial to our mission or path in life. Although, when we are finding these energies a little bit overwhelming, we do need to meditate and maybe do need to step away a little bit, and give ourselves the time to incorporate or get regrounded, due to the chaos of the erratic energies being exuded globally by the collective. So we've all got Pisces in our chart, we've all got Chiron in our chart, we've all got all the constellations and we've got all the planets. It's where they're sitting in our charts is the areas of our lives that it affects. And if you would like to know any more about that or want to order a reading and don't know which one to order, you can email me at goodwitchuk@gmail.com, and I can recommend what you might need for whatever situation you're going through or what you would like to know about. So please feel free to email me. But anyway, so Pluto will go stationary on the 2nd of October and direct on the 4th, depending on where you live in the world. But as Pluto goes direct, he will be in opposition to the North Node, in sextile to the goddess Pallas, and in trine to both the goddesses Juno and Vesta. So this is actually a very destined feminine energy. So this is when a lot of reveal will occur. I think a lot of things are going to come to light at this time. Although it may cause some setbacks and certain situation that might occur will be beyond our control. And I feel that justice will be the theme at this time, and a black and white perspective, that will bring clarity and a great insight, for those of us that are willing to tap into the psychology of our lives and situations. I feel also that there may be some sort of disclosure globally or an exposure of truth regarding a misdemeanor. So I do feel there's going to be some sort of justice, and I do know that certain justices are already, occurring, but we're not really seeing that in the media, which is pretty typical, really, So in addition to Pluto going direct on the 4th, the moon will actually be at 0 degrees in Sagittarius. And to me, this represents like the Fool in tarot. And with the aspects taking place, I would highly recommend that we don't jump into anything, because what is beyond our control is a different thing altogether. And at present, we would be wiser to continue to go with the flow, so don't take charge of, because it's all about timing, and this is definitely not right timing. We need to process the information first before we take action. And that is what I'm feeling here, because there is an urge to take action, but it's not the right time. Because the kite energy is too erratic and high flying. And that can leave some of us feeling a bit too optimistic for our own good, whilst for others trying to get off the ground in the first place can be quite defeating, so there can be a complete imbalance between these two energies. But in simpler terms, it means that while some of us may be in the heights of over-optimism, others could be stuck in their depths of despair. Although I feel that many of us will fluctuate between the two, since the kite energy normally represents extreme highs and lows. So meditation and journaling or keeping a diary of our thoughts and feelings will be very helpful for us to gain clarity, as we'll research crafting and nature walks. And as normal, I recommend Steve Noble's meditations. I haven't posted one here on YouTube for a while, but I have been uploading them to my FB page because, many of us were at different stages of energy, whereas actually his latest YouTube is actually really uncannily fits this the energies coming in perfectly. So please do find the recommended video below of Steve Noble's and alongside Waterberg's interview with us at the Siderealist. So everybody, keep the faith and sending you all peace and much love. Hi. I've had to do a separate recording to finish this podcast because the computer I normally work on with my movie maker is broken down for some reason. It's not working today. So I'm having to use a different computer with a different movie maker, which is just not easy to work with. But anyway, I just wanted to finish this video by saying once again, thank you very much for your support. And of course, I always like to wish you peace and much love.